welcome all of you. And today I'm feeling very proud that I have the father of data warehousing, Bill Inman, with me. And I'm extremely fortunate that he's with me. Very warm welcome, Bill. And thank you so much for taking your time for to come to our podcast, Bill.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Bill, we have all have read your book, and I know that you spoke about the famous top-down approach. But I want to understand from you, probably the first time people will watch it also on our podcast, that what exactly is the top-down approach and how different it is from bottom-up approach, Bill.
Certainly. The top down approach looks at the enterprise. It says we need to understand data across the enterprise. This is important because there are a lot of people from different organizations that need to look at the same data. We have accounting, marketing, finance, management, all need to be looking across the enterprise. The problem with the bottom up approach is that in order to you don't achieve this enterprise understanding of data. You achieve an application understanding of data, but when you start to put three and four applications together, that does not equal enterprise data. So, what happened was people started to build applications, and then and they built applications for the end user, which was okay. And then they found out that accounting, marketing, and finance needed to use their data that they had built for the application. And that's when the need for enterprise data became obvious.
Talking about this, let's say if you're following a top-down approach and multiple departments getting the data and it's getting centralized at one layer. Well, let's say if you're having duplicates of records coming from similar kind of record from different systems, and if you're centralizing it, then there can be a possibility that duplicates exist. So, what do you think that organization, if they're facing such issues, how they should tackle it and make sure the data which is there at the centralized layer should be reliable.
As we build the data for the enterprise approach, we use something called transformation technology. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
called ETL, sometimes it's called something else. But essentially, the transformation technology sorts out those issues. Part of, not all, but part of the transformation technology job is to understand which of the duplicate records has the valid data because it's entirely possible that you may have duplicate records, but have different data on the records, and you've got to choose between the two. So, transformation technology is how we manage that.
Absolutely, Bill. I agree with you, and that's exactly we also follow when we construct a data warehouse when we have a duplicates. And apart from ETL, we also include the master data management as well, because we felt that MDM is majorly built for making sure that duplicates are removed. Bill, I want to understand your thoughts on master data management as a technology and how relevant it is in today's world. And if anybody is constructing a data warehouse, then why should they actually consider master data management? Well,
Master data management is extremely important, but there's a problem. The problem is that people were building the applications didn't consider master data management to be very important. And so from the very beginning, master data management was a subject that was put off until tomorrow, and then nobody ever got around to it. However, if you really do want to look at data across the enterprise, you must have master data management. So, master data management is one of the keys to success, except that the start in our industry that master data management got was not a very good start.
absolutely, Bill, agree with you that people probably don't understand the benefits of master data management. So for those people, I just want you to speak few lines that what are the exact benefits they can achieve if they have MDM also in their warehousing system.
Well, master data management is useful to many people. It's useful to the end user to find where their data is. It's useful to the database designer to help to understand how to build new systems. It's helpful to the programmer in order to understand what's there. So master data management is, and I'm sure there are other communities it's useful to as well. But master data management serves the purpose of being useful to many people for many different reasons.
Uh, when we are constructing a MDM, master data management, we have several domains, and there is one domain called customer master, and there is another domain called product master. And there is an ambiguity when people are, having product master, they sometimes get confused with the product information management. So I want to understand from you what is the difference between PIM, like product information management, versus a product master data management.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't really recommend that you organize your data this way because you end up not achieving the enterprise-wide view that you want to look at. And so, if you want to achieve a true enterprise level view of the data, I don't. I'm not saying that approach is wrong. I'm just saying that you are creating your own obstacles when you take that approach.
Got it, Bill. Bill, let's say if an organization is building a data warehousing from the scratch, what are
Yep.
the characteristics of a data warehouse which they should focus?
There's a lot to think about when you're building a data warehouse from scratch. Number one is you need to think about integrating data from lots of different sources. That's usually the first problem. The second problem is keeping the granularity of the data low. It's a temptation to try to put data with high granularity in a data warehouse, and this is almost always a mistake. You want the lowest level of granularity in the data warehouse. Another thing that you need to think about is not building your data warehouse all at once. I've never seen a successful data warehouse where people build it all at once. You build a data warehouse incrementally. You build it one step and then another step and another step. Another characteristic of success in data warehousing is the need for a data model that in order to do what needs to be done, you've got to have the data model. And I'm sure there are, I'll tell you another step. Another step is to not forget that data in your data warehouse is going to grow old over time. So you need to have an archival strategy to be able to remove data from the data warehouse when the data no longer becomes useful in the data warehouse. And I'm sure there are a lot of other considerations, but off the
Well, that's a
top of my head, those are what I thought.
Those are very useful tips, Bill. I'm sure that people who are watching our podcast will definitely benefit from this tip. So, guys, if you are building your data warehouse from the scratch, then please follow the steps what Bill has just mentioned. Bill, I want to understand from you that these days people are using data lake a lot. So, what is the difference between a data warehouse and a data lake?
A data lake is not a good idea. The people that wanted to build a data lake said, we're just going to take some data and throw it into a pile and hope somebody can do something with it. And what happens is, very quickly, the data in the data lake, number one, you can't find anything. It's too big, number one. Number two, you can't relate data to one piece of data to another piece of data. The data is terribly unintegrated. Number three, the data that's in the data lake oftentimes includes textual data and analog data, and trying to merge text and analog data in with structured data is very difficult to do. I have to say, I talked to a lot of people, and have seen no successful data lakes after the day. Now, in the probably the first month of a data lake, it perhaps might appear to be successful. But after 6 months, after a year, a data lake turns from a data lake into a data swamp. A data warehouse is the exact opposite. A data warehouse, you can find your data in the data warehouse. You have data that's integrated in the data warehouse. So the data lake and the data warehouse, as far as I can tell, are the opposites of each other.
Well, that's an excellent tip, Bill, because these days people are following, the data lake more than data warehouse. So that's a eye opener for them, that data warehouse is still very much relevant and very much important. So guys, if you are considering data lake versus data warehouse. So please follow the tip shared by Bill that data warehouse is a better approach where you can actually find the data, and it's not.
Roy, if you don't mind, I'd like to comment on what you just got through saying. Is I
Please,
get asked frequently, when do we not need a data warehouse? And the answer
yes,
is two answers. Number one, when you don't need enterprise data, when your marketing, accounting, and finance people don't need that data. That's when you don't need a data warehouse. And of course, the answer is you always need that kind of data. The second thing is a data warehouse stops growing and being useful when your business stops. As long as your business is growing and moving and changing, and that's the truth for every business that's out there. There's always changes in business, and those changes need to be reflected in your data warehouse. So a data warehouse is something that's continually being changed and growing. But when do you not need a data warehouse? It's when people don't need enterprise data. And as far as I can tell, I've never seen a corporation that doesn't need enterprise wide data.
absolutely, Bill. I don't think even I haven't seen any organization who doesn't need enterprise data. So I very much agree with you, Bill, on that. Well, moving on, Bill, as we know that we are now modernizing to the cloud. So what's your take on that, this complete cloud modernization? Now, earlier we used to see, a lot of on-premise applications for the data management. Now everything is moving towards cloud. So what are the pros and cons of that, Bill, if you want to just highlight?
The cloud is just another storage device, and you can have a successful data warehouse in your shop. You can have a successful data warehouse on the cloud. You can have an unsuccessful data warehouse in your shop. You can have an unsuccessful data warehouse in the cloud. So the architecture and concepts of a data warehouse are neither here nor there when it comes to the cloud. Now, the cloud will make the maintenance of a data warehouse a little bit easier. And I guess I have to say in the same breath, there are a couple of cloud vendors that are out there, Snowflake being one. Recently, Snowflake had a book that came out talking about data warehouse. And nowhere did they mention integration, nowhere did they mention textual data. And what's interesting is if Snowflake would have put the book out for data warehouse infrastructure, that would have been just fine. But they said, here's what you need to know about data warehouse. Then they missed the most important points of data warehouse. So cloud vendors can help with the infrastructure, but it's been my experience that cloud vendors are much more interested in selling their technology than they are in actually building or helping you build what you need.
Exactly, I agree with you, Bill. And talking about more about snowflaking, it's very famous right now. I mean, whenever we talk about data warehouse, people resonated with Snowflake. So as you pointed out, that some of the characteristics which they have mentioned probably it's not apt what as per the typical theory of data warehousing. So like somebody needs to build a proper data warehouse, as you already mentioned the different characteristic, but still I want you to focus on few important criterias which are like essential for a data warehousing building, because people these days are reading a lot on, they're following different books, different methodologies, so there is an ambiguity. So just to clear the thoughts, just on a simple language, if you can say that, these are some of the important aspects which you never have to miss if you're building a data warehouse.
The number one aspect of a data warehouse is the data must be integrated. If you don't have integrated data in a data warehouse, you don't have anything. It's like talking about the human body and not talking about blood. That you can have a body, but if you don't have blood, you're not living. And so number one, you've got to talk about integration. Then there are a lot of other things that you need to talk about. The other thing that you need to talk about is granularity. Granularity and integration are the core foundations for a data warehouse.
Thank you so much, Bill, for this thought. I think people who are building data warehouse, this tip will be very, very helpful. Well, nowadays we are having, different kind of data, as we just mentioned about the cloud. So people have public cloud, private cloud, they have data online, they have data offline. So much of data is there. So now there is a concept called data fabric, which basically integrates all of that. But I want to understand from your viewpoint, Bill. So what data fabric is all about, and if anybody is thinking about building a data fabric layer, what are the tips they should definitely keep in mind?
I recently had the opportunity to look more deeply into data fabric, and here's what I found: is data fabric does not take into account the need for a firm foundation of data. Data fabric assumes that there is all of this data that's just waiting there to be looked at and used, and that's not a valid assumption. I liken data fabric to putting a beautiful silk sheet over a pigsty. That data fabric may be the most beautiful thing in the world, but if you put it over a pigsty, very shortly the beautiful silk turns into a very soiled, dirty piece of garbage. And so, as long as data fabric ignores the fact that the data that they're trying to manipulate and work on is not valid, integrated, useful data, it can't possibly succeed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bill, for this thoughts. And I also want to understand, these days so much data is there, data custodians are there are data accounts owners. So what is the role of data governance in an organization? If they're building data warehousing, if they're building data management, how important the data governance is, and what they should do for a right data governance?
When I think of data governance, I think of a football game. In a football game, we have referees and umpires, and the referee or umpire controls the game. They don't play the game, but they control the rules of the game. And so when I think of data governance, I think of a referee or an umpire making sure that the activities that have been done or going to be done are done properly. Now, I'm sure there's other aspects to data governance there, but that's my perspective.
What a beautiful representation, Bill. I mean, this is the first time probably people can, imagine a data governance concept with a referee or a umpire kind of a situation in a football match. I mean, that's great thought. Absolutely. So basically laying down the policies and rules and making sure that your entire data journey is successful. That's what the governance is all about, Bill. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, Bill, now talking about the future, let's say, right now we know that we have seen how your when once your book came, top-down approach, and then Kimball bottom-down approach, people read it. Then we move to the modernization, the data lakes concept, fabrics, governance. But what is the future? Like in next 5 to 10 years, how do you think this data management journey is going to be? Or what role artificial intelligence is going to play? As we have seen that artificial intelligence is playing a key role in every aspect. So what do you think that in future, what are the some top trends that can be probably can be famous?
Well, I look at things a little bit differently, and when I see the future, I see that there is a tremendous opportunity that nobody is looking at, and that is in terms of textual data. Let me describe the opportunity of textual data this way. If you look back in history, in the United States in 1848, we are told that you could walk down to the streams in California and just pick up gold. You could just literally walk down and rummage through the rocks and pick up gold. It was that easy. And then in 1849, gold was discovered, and soon the whole east coast of the United States headed to California. Well, it's the same situation today. That there is this textual data that's sitting out there that nobody is looking at, nobody is doing anything with, and yet there is tremendous opportunity and value in looking at textual data. Now, there's so many opportunities I cannot possibly go through all of them. But let me give you a couple of these opportunities. Number one is in terms of medical records. Today, a medical record is in the form of text, and that's good for a doctor and a patient. But if you're going to be doing research on medical records, you can't have it in the form of text. You've got to have it in the form of a database. So, if you're doing research on something like COVID or cancer or heart disease or diabetes or any of those diseases, you've got to look at 100,000 or even a million patients. And in order to do that, you must have your data in the form of a database. Let me tell you another example, something called the voice of the customer, that retail businesses always want to please their customer. In doing so, they make more money, they make more sales, and that makes their business happier. How do you hear the voice of the customer? Well, there's lots of places to hear the voice of the customer: on the internet, in email, in call centers, and many places. But every time you hear the voice of your customer, it's in the form of text. That's where the voice of the customer is. In order to be able to handle 100,000 or a million comments made by customers, you've got to have it in the form of a database, not in the form of text. Now, you don't want me to do this, but I could go on for the next hour talking about the places where text is not being used in the organization today. Once organizations wake up to the fact that text has tremendous business value, there's going to be a land rush. Now, people like Gartner Group will tell you that, well, gee, Bill, with text, we can just use Chat GPT or regenerative AI. And in the way in this last month, I've talked to no less than four major companies that are trying to do that. And I'm going to tell you right now, ChatGPT and generative AI is not built for analysis. It's built for other forms of looking at text, but in terms of what you need for analysis, the Gartner viewpoint is plainly incorrect. And so when you look at the future, and you look at where is business value lays in the form of looking at and using text in an analytical fashion.
Wow, what a thought, Bill. I mean, so the focal point is the textual data. That is something you feel this is a clear opportunity and something which organization missing are missing. So that is something which you feel that if organization focuses on, that can be a very big thing in future. Am I right?
I'm uh, I don't think that. I know that because we are working with
Wow.
companies that are doing that today, and today it's like a secret. To today, only a few people know, but very shortly that secret's going to be known to the world. But yes, I know for a fact that there is tremendous value in text, and it is being unlocked now.
Can you just give one small example that if somebody has to decode and store a textual data, what should be the pattern, how they should follow? Just going little technical.
Rohit, I'll be happy to do that for you, but to do it properly, it would take me a week to describe it because text is fundamentally different from structured data. Let me give you just one way, and this is just one way. Uh, 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 you have to have context of text to make sense of it. Let me give you the word fire. What does the word fire mean? Well, fire can mean that your building is burning down. Fire can mean you have a pistol in your hand, you pull the trigger, and you fire the gun. Fire can mean your boss is mad at you and walks in and says, "You're fired." So you don't know what the word fired means until you understand the context. So in the world of text, context is done implicitly. Now, we have context in the structured world. If you go to the structured world, we have records of data. And in those records of data, we have keys and attributes and indexes and things like that. So, in the structured world, we are used to having that context being given to us. In the textual world, you've got to go out and find the context. And 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 believe me, that is the tip of the iceberg. Um, that's the tip of the iceberg in terms of understanding um, the differences between text. I'm going to tell you, I've been working in the world of text now for a long time, about 2 decades, and I come from the structured world. And when I came into the structured world, I found it to be very frustrating because everything I'd learned in the structured world wasn't there. You didn't have keys. You didn't have attributes. You didn't have nice, neat definitions of data. Data models in the structured world, we have data models. In the textual world, you have things called taxonomies and ontologies. And taxonomies and ontologies are very different from a data model. So you don't want me to do this. I could go on literally for the next hour talking about this, but that's a glimpse into some of the differences between dealing with structured data and textual data.
I'm seriously loving this conversation, Bill. Seriously love, such deep concept on textual data, something which really everybody needs to ponder upon. And I will surely do that and, do more research on textual and definitely probably bother you more on this concept. But it's seriously enlightening for me and especially for all the viewers who are listening to you, Bill.
Uh,
Bill,
may I give you one reference? There is a book
please.
that I would recommend to you. The book is called "Turning Text into Gold." It's by Technics Publication, and it describes in a great more detail the things I haven't even started to. We haven't even touched the meat of the subject. So I recommend the book "Turning Text into Gold" for more information.
I will surely read it. I mean, that should be a good read, Bill. Want to watch this, will love this conversation. Thank you so much for taking your time. Really, really pleasure speaking to you, Bill.
Thank you, Rohit. My pleasure.